out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Okay, Tim. Hello.
Who's the horror host who sits across from me? Ryan.
McDuff.
Ryan. Who's got a friend named Peter who recommended this horrible movie? Ryan. Ryan.
I hope someone
hi.
gets that reference.
Somebody who managed to track this movie down?
Maybe our friend Peter who recommended it. Oh, well, hi, Tim. I don't have a
Hey,
song
man.
introducing you.
That's okay.
But,
you don't need one.
I'm almost afraid to ask, but how are you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've got a sniffle.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying.
Mm-hmm. But something we can work through.
I feel like I'm going to sound more congested than usual.
Yeah, when we sat down for this, Tim was like, "Oh, I'm sneezing, I got the hiccups. What's going on?"
Everything's happening at once.
And it's just like this film we watched, Arnold, was
It
just
is.
kind of like pushed you over. It like made everything kind of coalesce into this point of just sneezing, hiccuping, stress.
Yep, pretty
Your
much.
sneezes were pretty loaded.
Yeah,
But-
I'm a loud sneezer. I'm like a shout sneezer
Yeah.
or scream sneezer.
My sneezes are louder than than me, so people are usually surprised.
Yeah.
Can we turn our attention from us to hello, our listeners?
Sure.
Hello, our listeners. Thank you for
Hi,
humoring
everybody.
our preamble.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 23 of Dismembering Horror.
No way.
20, yeah, Arnold. I have it down. I'm checking. I'm looking at this time.
23?
Yep, because
What was-
Maggie was 20.
What was 22?
Planet of the Vampires.
I thought that was 21.
Ghost Stories.
Oh, ghost stories. I miss you so much.
Yeah, it's funny how like we went from loving Ghost Stories episode 21, hating Maggie 20, loving Ghost Stories 21, and then we had two recommendations. These aren't recommendations; they're I can't even say the actual recommendations.
Recommendations. That's the real word.
That's the real word.
Wow.
I haven't said it for so long. We had two recommendations from friends of mine of films where like Planet of the Vampires. That was,
That I'm
Interesting, yeah.
yeah. I mean, that one paid off for me.
but it. I don't. Yeah.
Lots to dive into with that one.
I don't know. They've just been funny, these recommendations, my friend.
It's so strange and like unlikely that we would pull two in a row.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm getting at.
Like, what are the odds
Mm-hmm.
of the? I think what did we have? Like total, we have like 50 or something in the hat.
Yeah, exactly.
So to get two is pretty crazy.
Maybe that's a way to get them to listen to it. So, and then that's only a good thing.
Yep.
Well, thanks for being here. We want to get into it because we watched a film that I'm excited to, believe it or not, Tim, I'm excited to make sense of it as to why it was so bad.
Knowing you, I believe it.
So, should we? Let's play the trail. We figured this one too. So this is hard to track down. This
Yeah.
film. It's not. It's online. It's on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, and having said that, it's going to be as good a version, the YouTube version, as anything else you find. Because like in our case, it was a DVD that was ripped from a VHS that was, not formatted from the original.
Yeah.
So it's like they're pulling from probably a VHS that taped it off of TV.
Yeah.
Or just was made for
No,
TV,
it was a
TV,
VHS
right?
that was released in like the 70s or 80s.
Right, so it's for a 4:3 aspect ratio. Like, it's not the original film.
I mean, though,
You know what I mean?
Though, I'm glad we rented it and didn't just go off the YouTube because it is better quality. At least I noticed. Looking at the YouTube,
Is it?
it's like it's really bad when this just looks like what we watched just looked like a VHS.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So let's watch the trailer and then we'll kind of set it up more, because what I was getting at with that was we're going to give it a little more context maybe than usual, since we usually like you watch the film and you watch it with us, talk about it with us. But not only do you not need to maybe see this film, but...
Why are you tipping your hand here?
or maybe see it.
Oh.
Maybe we loved it. No, anyway, all right, here's the trailer for 1973 Bing Crosby production starring Roddy McDowall and some other people. Arnold.
He's a scream. He really took care of his family. Arnold gave his bride a honeymoon she'd never forget.
Heaven have mercy on my soul.
All it takes, I suppose, is a bit of dusting off now and then.
Arnold gave his widow some vanishing cream.
That goo was a real wrinkle remover indeed.
Arnold gave his brother a brand new suit.
His buttons is all that was left of him, poor chap.
Arnold gave his sister a room of her own.
When you're a skilled criminologist like myself, it's as plain as a nose on your pretty little face.
Arnold gave his unfaithful wife and her handsome lover togetherness. See Stella Stevens, Roddy McDowall, and Arnold in Arnold. You'll die laughing. Rated PG.
You know, I don't think you're giving the lead enough by saying it's starring Roddy McDowall, because it's starring Stella Stevens.
I know.
The very well established and well-known Stella Stevens.
It is. It was. I slipped in that, or I just went for this is the only name I could remember or recognize. But he actually, yeah, Roddy McDowall did not have first billing. It was
No,
Stella
that's right.
Stevens.
And he, you know, there's a reason.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
So okay. So we
Okay,
want to start off with
okay.
the context
Okay.
of where we were coming from at all with this. Now, Peter, my friend Peter, doesn't let
Yeah.
on a lot. But he said, I asked him, oh, yeah, we're looking for recommendations of horror films, not necessarily obscure. I think people, though, like, even when we're like, we aren't looking for obscure ones, just ones that we haven't seen that maybe there's something to
Right.
or interesting or, worth seeing. And
Yeah, because most people aren't going to be, they're going to be like, yeah, go watch Jaws. And
yeah,
it's like,
but even though I say
it.
that, I think people do still, they think of what's maybe is more obscure.
Yeah.
Or like to an extent.
Yeah.
So Peter's like, have you seen Arnold? Or have you heard of that film? I'm like, no, what the hell is that? And
Is that Peter's, like, how Peter's voice is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, cool.
And and then he's like, he didn't let on anything about what it was, except for he saw it, I think a long time ago as a
Okay.
kid. And Peter is actually I mentioned in the last episode when we pulled the name of it, a host of a podcast called Retro Reviews, and we plan on doing a crossover. I'm going to go on their show. He's going to come on our show, so we'll be sure to grill him then about Arnold and where he was coming from.
Yeah, I would love to know. I want to know, because I don't know Peter. I really want to know if this was like a sort of cheeky, you should watch this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, is he fucking with us?
I dare you. What I'm wondering, I was kind of glancing through, the YouTube comments where it's the whole movie's posted, and I could see, like, when you're a kid watching this film, like, when you aren't so attuned to when something is just
Yes.
You're like-
there's a lot of appeal for a 10-year-old.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
a lot.
It's like the murderers are, we'll get
Right.
into it, but there's
It's PG almost 13. So if you're 10, you're like, I'm getting something.
Yeah. There's plenty of stuff in it, and our what I have for my notes is going to reflect this.
Yeah.
But even though I didn't like it, I have I have a lot in what worked and hardly anything in what didn't work. If that
Interesting.
makes sense. So for a little context, I have a poll just like, okay, so what is this movie? We're going to do the summary in a sec, but just to like, if we're giving this film more context, I found a kind of good like real world context for what this film is from filmthreat.com. Do you mind
cool.
if I read this?
Sure.
Okay. Arnold was produced by Bing Crosby Productions. By the 1970s, Old Bing was no longer starring in films, but he put his money up for the creation of low-budget flicks, most notably Walking Tall. George Fenati, the Arnold director, also helmed another Crosby-produced film in 1973, Terror in the Wax Museum. Fenati specialized in directing TV shows, and those two productions were the extent of his motion picture output. However, as his TV roots clearly show, Arnold has the look of a cheaply and quickly made TV movie, complete with a B-list cast overplaying their roles.
Harsh. B-list.
Pretty, I thought that was...
It's pretty accurate. Yeah.
So now
it is good contextually because we turned this on and I instantly was like, oh, we're in this world.
Yeah.
like even the opening shot is like, it's very obviously a small sound stage that they built a graveyard on. And then there's like a forced perspective mansion that's right. Probably, it's to scale. So it's probably 5 feet tall, but it's just, 20 feet in the background. So it's supposed to look like it's a mansion out.
There's someone holding it up so it doesn't fall over.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you go, oh, I know where I am.
And then the music kicks in, which Tim gave us a Ryan rendition
Holy
of.
Christ. Yeah. Yes. It's pretty all over the place. I think they're we'll get into it. I think they were attempting to, and I think this happens a lot actually. When you have people who are kind of making a movie for this, I guess, sort of for the sake of making a thing, it's a bunch of different ideas that haven't really formed into a cohesive thing. So it's like we're grabbing, oh yeah, we like this thing from this and we like this thing from that, and oh yeah, Benny Hill is a cool funny show too, so let's use stuff from that. You know what I mean? So it just feels like this kind of slapped together thing, and that shows even in like the sets and like the sort of low budgety thing. They're like, fuck it, like we don't have enough money to make a masterpiece, so let's just slap it together and do something, which I'm not against. Like, I think there's value in that a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think there's lightning in the bottle when it does really work. Super Mario Brothers movie.
All right, let's not get crazy here.
Save that for another day then.
I don't think I've ever actually watched that.
That movie has its defenders.
I'm sure it does. That might be a generational thing.
No, because it's actually people of my generation
God
who are
damn
just
it.
like, we aren't that like.
I know, we're like 3 years apart.
But yeah, no. Anyway,
It's just the rocket boots, the stupid rocket boots or whatever they're called.
No, anyway, we don't have to stay on.
Oh God, okay.
There were no rocket boots in Arnold. He was still on Super Mario Brothers. I'm sorry for bringing it up. Can you give us a summary of this film?
Sure. All right, so here's the deal. Arnold's a dead guy, and instead of having a funeral, he has a wedding in the cemetery, in his family plot cemetery. And the gist is he has conceived this elaborate sort of plan as his dying wishes that start with marrying his mistress and kind of stick it to everybody else in his family in various ways. Like, that's the will.
Yeah.
And part of the, what do you call it? The like terms of the will is that his mistress has to stay by his side forever. And that there's also a hidden chest or stash, I guess,
a treasure
of treasure.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
Just to entice people. So, antics ensue because everybody's got their own little angle, and he's dead, so theoretically...
Well, the antics that ensue are meanwhile, what did you just say? They're after the money. What's really happening is
everybody's got an angle.
Arnold has presumably laid out some sort of intuited murder plot that plays out post-mortem.
Right.
That's what for me is like the core of this synopsis of this
Yeah,
film.
and sort of to be more clear, he literally has tapes, like cassette tapes, that are pre-recorded. Well, you assume they're everybody assumes they're pre-recorded.
There's kind of a mystery of, maybe he's somehow still alive?
Or it's his ghost, or like, what's
don't know.
happening? But that those tapes are all kind of in responding to people like his brothers and sisters and cousins and whoever's involved, like them trying to betray his wishes, the wishes of his will. And their angle is all to like get theirs, whether it's the house or the money or the car or whatever, or just to say fuck you to him. So it's pretty, God. I think what they were trying to do is sort of a 10 Little Indians, Agatha Christie sort of like murder mystery thing. And it's there, but, it's a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Well, then, so if we've been obviously ragging on it, how would you officially rate it in our rating system? Would you tell yourself to avoid it, to stream it, to rent it? Or, you know what? Would you just want to buy this, Tim, straight up?
Would I want to buy a ripped DVD of a VHS that was ripped from
No, maybe you could find an actual VHS for like $300 on eBay or something.
Oh, my God. It's funny. It's corny and funny and of its time. So I think there's kind of value in that. Oh man, would I subject myself to sitting through, well, I did, but would I do it if Peter hadn't made us do it?
Or if you already knew what it was.
No. Avoid it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what I settled on too, because if our rating system was leaning more toward people at large, if that's what our rating system was, I'd say as a fully researched curiosity, stream it.
I agree.
But to just me, myself, like I just watched another film I really enjoyed. I would have just rather watch that again.
Right.
So for this one, I gotta say avoid it to me.
Damn. Harsh. Remember at the beginning of when we were doing this, we were like, I don't think we should ever really say avoid it because, like there's value in everything.
Which is why I think we skewed our rating system and I try to clarify it. Yeah, it's us talking to ourselves. Because I
agree.
We didn't necessarily start that way with our rating system.
Right.
There was some...
But, I kind of had fun with it.
Yeah, me too.
Like we had to watch it, right? So you might as well... enjoy what you can. And
again, we're going to get into our actual the meat and bones of our breakdown here, and there's certainly a lot that I had that really worked for me, and it's going to sound like I was I guess it's true, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. Well, and like anything, you can glean a lesson from even what wasn't working in it, and like take the kind of the kernels of what worked and even on the sort of smallest scale, there are concepts and ideas that I think you could steal and make way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe if this movie had a real budget and a director who, was super passionate about it. I mean, I'm not trying to disparage George here, but like your little thing you read said, it's like he did a couple of super low budget films and then mostly TV. So he's just sort of coming from that angle.
Yeah.
But if like, I don't know, some ridiculously obsessive, amazing, visual talent
get our boy Edgar Ulmer, who directed The Black Cat, on it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I bet he would have done some shit with this. So yeah, there's stuff in there.
Well, let's figure out what that stuff is then. Should we get into what worked for us?
Yeah.
What worked? for you? What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm. Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
Well, I guess since I had a more formidable list, I'll start here, Tim.
How do you know? How do you know my list isn't formidable?
Call it a guess, a hunch. Prove me wrong, though.
Okay.
The tape player in the coffin and that whole gag.
You know what I love about that gag is that it by itself is hilariously stupid.
Yes, that's why I love it.
But even the buttons on it are so clearly not actual buttons. Like, it's just a prop. Like and they show the people like putting their finger on it, and it's just the surface of the thing. It's like, it's not actually, you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing about it implies that it's actually real.
Right. Well, when it first happened,
they didn't give a fuck.
When it first happened, it just cracked me up. I thought it was so funny, like, to have a built-in tape player, and just that whole idea of like the carcass in the coffin with its voice just playing as if it's, I don't know, it was all just tickled me.
Well, I'm now looking this up. Okay. I thought to myself, and I think I said this when we were watching it, were cassette tapes novel at this time, like 1973?
They're real spy-like, I think, at that time, right?
But it turns out they're 10 years old. Cassette tapes were invented in 1962. Mm-hmm. And in 63, they kind of got, they were released and got introduced in...
It wasn't until,
worldwide.
I think...
But I bet now, like, right about 73 was when they were, like, established as a thing, but still a new thing.
Yeah, because vinyl was still king.
Right. So the kind of novel, like, ooh, look at this quote-unquote future tech that we're using, in a way to kind of push this story along. Because what would be the alternative to accomplish the continual voiceover of Arnold's, narrating or telling the other characters what's going on? How would you do that without a cassette tape? Mm-hmm. I mean, modernly you could do it, but I'm saying at the time.
I mean, it would have just been
a record.
Yeah, whatever didn't exist.
And how did he cut those records? You know what I mean? Like, the idea of that, it's like they were like, ooh, cool, cassettes. Like, this opens the door for this storyline. It's like the weird, cool novel thing of this 1973 movie.
Well, it also opened the door for this film was the gag of the eye looking through a portrait. I think they went, how do we make a whole film out of the gag of an eye looking through the eye on a portrait? And this was the result of that.
Oh, yeah.
I loved how the eye, it was just like, they figured out where it's like, oh, can you move it around more? And it was just like, it looked like a disembodied eye, like coming out of a piece of skin, like how it's just that horror image of like, and it's like looking all around really just quickly. Like, I wouldn't see a person actually looking around that wide-eyed and intensely, but it was fun. I just liked that they did that.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a fucking dumb gag, but like of its time. Because, like, this is Scooby-Doo. I mean, this movie is basically Scooby-Doo
You're right.
in its own way.
This movie
right?
is just
well, guess
Scooby-Doo.
what? Scooby-Doo came out in 1969.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, man, yeah, let's just ride the Scooby-Doo wave and do the fucking portrait eye thing.
Why didn't they just make it a Scooby-Doo movie? That would have been so much better.
Seriously.
Probably because they didn't want to figure out Scooby-Doo.
Roddy McDowell as Shaggy. Well...
His little...
Karen was pretty. She was pretty Velma-y.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Which one's which? Velma?
No, not Velma.
No, she's the other one. Fuck. Who is the other one? I should know this. I love Scooby-Doo growing up.
I loved
Daphne.
I loved his little Arnold, the dead body's little smirk.
I love that. Like in 80% of the shots of Arnold, he's breathing and his eyes, because he's wide-eyed the whole time,
Yeah.
right? He's got an expression, and like you could see his eye kind of twitch every now and again, and his mouth kind of move every now
Well,
and
that
again.
was that was funny, but I mean, just his expression with his eyes wide open and his smirk,
Ugh.
like it never. That's what was kind of got me about this film, is it like it had these initial. It would show these gags initially of like his smirk, and then the tapes, and then the eye looking through the people, and then but they became constantly recurring, and they didn't get old for me. Like when his body
my
appeared
God.
at that other location. Remember how they like go to have a little rendezvous, and like the
and
body's there watching
he's sitting.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like when it cuts to him. Then I don't know. Is this kind of the Weekend at Bernie's thing?
It's pretty funny.
That was funny.
No, I mean, there are gags. I mean, this movie is a bunch of gags.
And I love them all,
And they're
Tim,
pretty
'cause
fucking
they're-
funny.
because they're stupid. You know,
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, and if you're down for some just corny bullshit 70s gags, like if you like Laugh-In and Benny Hill and like any of that shit, the Monkees, then watch this movie, like
Right.
by all means, because it's just that shit.
Like one of my favorites was the. I'm referring to her this way because the film referred to her this way, but the well-endowed bartender, or what would you call her? Yeah, she was
The voluptuous,
voluptuous.
Swedish bartender.
Yes, when it cuts to 3 bullseyes being made on the dartboard, and she's just like conning these drunks, you know, with her
Yeah.
with her dart skills. I liked that.
Yep.
And then one of my favorite character and performance, hands down, was the constable, Henry Hook. He cracks me up. Just the kind of when it's like
Yeah.
the voice where it reminds me of the what is it they like how they speak in a Clockwork Orange, where they where they say, oh, you know, he hid the body all what, you know, they say all whatever, like you know, they did it all careful, like.
Right. Yeah, governor.
Yeah.
Oh,
and his
man.
had the mustache and the hat, and then like cracked me up like when he sets up the bike and it just like kickstand and it just falls the other way, and his bike is always falling. Tim was like, "Oh, didn't see that coming."
I did.
And I didn't, because
I
I'd
did.
never seen that gag before.
I don't know why, but the second he like rolled up and like kicked the kickstand, I was like, I know this gag.
Yeah.
It's just gonna fall the other way because he's that character.
I didn't know the gag, and because he was that character, I cracked up. I'm sure there were other gags I loved too. I'm just not remembering them now.
I mean, even just the coffin being the sort of like, you know, automated thing where it's like you touch a button and the lid closes, or the like he sort of lifts up into it
Yeah.
or out of it.
Well, this isn't a gag, but just the very, I don't know if there's probably like a tvtropes.com name for this, but when someone unseen or deceased like has a plan that you see playing out, and that's the movie.
Right. Yeah.
It's like it's especially fun when it is that they're dead, and it's like they foresaw everything happen, and
Yeah,
like
magically.
and we try to see people, and it's that game of people trying to escape what had seemingly been foreseen by acting on their own accord. Yet did the perpetrator actually foresee those moves?
He knew them so well.
Yeah.
That he knew that they would, in every moment, like he'd say a thing and then they'd respond in real time, and then the recording would be like, I thought you'd respond that way.
Yeah, I love that. Like in that micro way of, yeah, exactly, the tape responding to them directly.
Yeah.
And like perfect timing, as well as just everything that happened, you know, when someone was killed or someone went to a different location and he reacted accordingly. Dear sister, I saw, you know.
Oh, man.
I love that.
But you know, well, okay, I was going to criticize it. Never mind.
Okay. So I said I loved the constable.
Hook.
I
like, you know what I liked a lot?
What?
The crow
The crow.
and the cat.
I liked the crow and the cat a lot too.
I like that it opens with them It's like, how heavy-handed can we get?
Yeah. Well, you bookend in films.
Yeah, that's right. We're in a cemetery, a black crow. They're all black, or raven or whatever. Cause, and then they cut to a black cat who's like, "Wah."
And they have their little like ongoing tiff, as crows and cats do.
Oh yeah.
And
Enemies, lifelong enemies, those crows and cats.
I liked that the cat and the crow were last, like
The last death.
Yeah, well, no, they're last alive.
Well, right, yeah.
We weren't sure if it was the crow killing the cat or the cat killing the crow at the end.
It was a little ambiguous.
I assumed
behind
it was
the tombstone.
I think there were feathers flying up. I saw it as the cat killing the bird because that's just what.
That's because you love cats and I love crows. I saw the crow just eviscerating that cat.
That could be. I don't think it's because of that bias. I think though it's because
that's fair.
Cats are bigger and kill birds.
That's also fair.
But no, it did make me question if that was supposed to be some sort of intentional gag of the crow killing the cat that you were picking up on.
Or if just in real life, those two went at each other on set and they just kept rolling.
Oh, yeah, they dollied down and craned down into it. Perfect timing. Right.
Oh, man. The other thing I appreciate about this movie, although sort of in a like half in, half out way, the cheeky like sexism of like it's more speaking to how guys I think are just they're kind of pointing at guys just being lewd. So it doesn't feel too exploitative or like gratuitous. It's sort of just like, look at these drunk, lewd, everybody loves tits, dorks. You know what I mean? It's not cringy in a like, ew, I like, this makes me uncomfortable because guys are gross. It's a, look at these dorks who just can't look away from a pair of tits.
Like a live action Scooby-Doo way.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And also, it's maybe I don't know. There's something just funny to me about that whole gag of like the girls, prancing around ridiculously and using it to their advantage.
And the guys
whatever.
being on the level of being that susceptible.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's kind of in on it.
Yeah.
But also in a movie like this is why I said it sort of tickles the 10-year-old. You know what I mean? It's not too much, and it's not. I didn't think it was overtly gratuitous or anything, but it's just enough to be like cheeky.
Well, it was used, I think, not unintentionally to be just if this was sort of a plotting exercise or whatever, I don't know what you'd call it, in setting up characters where you want to make them be unlikable or like be guilty of things, right, to kill them off. Yeah. So they're all conniving for the money of the dead man
and for Karen.
Yeah, and for the mistress. Right. So it's like, yeah. So that's what I was gonna say. That's one of the little things that adds up to it, where it's like they all are trying to get with the mistress too.
Oh so man,
that element was.
I just remembered the dream sequence of Karen running around.
Oh yeah. I liked it when she's running away from him and it's all foggy.
Yeah. It's so dumb.
What instigated that?
I don't even remember. I think it's after Roddy is squeezed to death and she goes to sleep. The sister's like, you need to go lay down and rest.
Right. Okay.
Somebody like that.
We're trying to set this up, Phil. Maybe give an idea for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Can we go over the character? Who are each of these people?
Okay. Yes, I can do that. Karen is the mistress. She's our lead.
Yeah.
She marries Arnold after he's died. And the caveat is he can marry somebody after he's died because his wife before he died is now a widow, so technically they're not married anymore. And so he has put it in his will that his first order of business upon his death is to marry his mistress, which, raises the ire of his
Everyone
widow.
seems, all the attendees seem pretty accepting of it.
That's true. They're like, yeah, it's Arnold.
Yeah.
What do you expect? That's who he was.
Right. They all owe Arnold.
So his wife is Lady Dwellin. Jocelyn, but it doesn't matter. Lady Dwellin. So she becomes his widow, and he, in his will, says, Lady Dwellin, I'll let you keep the name because I know how much the title means to you.
I thought it was the car because the title means to you.
It's
the
both.
car.
Yeah. And so, but he says, I'm not giving you anything else because obviously money isn't important to you because you wouldn't accept the offer of $1 million or pounds or whatever.
Wasn't it
was.
1% of the
something crazy,
estate?
right? You wouldn't accept that to give me the divorce that I wanted. So she held out so that she could get an inheritance from him. And his middle finger to her is to say, obviously money's not important to you. So you get no money, but you get the car.
Enough
and you get
to give you
the
status.
title, right? To keep your status because that's so important to you. So he gives her the middle finger. She's pissed about that. She is our first death. Yes, she is our first death, and she dies by way of cold cream, acid with cold cream.
Well, if we're going down each of these characters, something else I loved in this film was the deaths. We had.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe should we include that in each of?
So let's go one by one here, so it's clear for people who didn't watch this.
We had a squish, a squash, and a crush. I want you to guess which one is each as it goes down.
Oh, that's funny.
But first, was the wife.
Yeah,
who
so
died by acid face cream.
That's right. So
I thought was great.
Which great, right? Like if appearance is her thing, it makes sense that the cold cream that she's using to keep her appearance, youthful and whatever, is what he kills her with.
Yeah.
Great. Cool.
And it was just so, each of these deaths was such an alleviating moment. Because imagine if this film, didn't have, any sort of effects, or they are all off screen, or deaths didn't really happen in this fun way. There would have been, so little redeemable about this. But at least this had kind of the slasher movie element of,
a little bit, yeah.
Let's watch each of them die.
Yeah. And the makeup of her bubbling face and then
good.
ultimately melted face was pretty fucking good.
It was
solid.
It was effectively grotesque.
Yep. So who was next? Ooh, next was Roddy
McDowell.
Yes, so he's the brother. His name's Robert.
Yeah.
And almost instantly, Karen and him, we find out that Karen and him have been snogging. So they right away are like, finally we can fucking be together and do what we want to do, and not necessarily in secret, but sort of still in secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sister dies, and then they kind of freak out a little bit of how is he doing this? And Karen suspects that Arnold is somehow...
The wife dies.
Right. Yes. What did I say? The sister? Oh, right. No, I mean the wife. Lady Dwellin.
The face cream death.
Face cream death. And then they kind of freak out, and they're suspicious, and they're wondering how this all happened, and blah, blah, blah. And then...
He borrows one of Arnold's suits.
They get a suit delivered, and Roddy takes it upon himself to open it and put it on, even though it's for Arnold. Arnold ordered it pre-death. And Roddy's like, well, fuck that. He's dead. I'll wear it. And so he does. And then the suit... What do you think
Arnold's view of
the
him
science behind this suit is?
So, and Arnold's view of him was he's a freeloader who didn't want didn't want to do anything.
So he knew he would take the suit.
Yeah. Oh, and so the suit, I called it the suit squish. Mm-hmm. The suit squish.
Yeah, the suit shrinks once he puts it on to the point of causing him to explode.
Yes. Which was wonderful.
I mean, I hate to say it, but if we're being technical, I think that the fabric would tear before your body would rupture.
I saw it as
a
suit made for the purpose of squishing
someone. So maybe
it's
made of a material that is...
It's hemp.
Will that squish you to death?
I know it's supposed to be Very strong.
It's bamboo and hemp.
Yes.
It's a bamboo hemp suit,
Custom
dyed
made.
magenta,
And
maroon.
It was great.
Plum.
It was fun how it was done visually, where you see it sort of like it was done
funny.
done well with the cutaway, cut back to it. It's a little more kind of thing.
Roddy really, I mean, he earned his paycheck in that death.
Yeah.
Ooh, he really went for it.
And it's just those however many frames we get of the gore exploding out.
3.
But it made it.
It's enough.
It was so good.
It's funny.
Like, we caught it. Just this kind of like vague guts and blood.
So that sends Karen spinning. I think that's when she gets sent to bed and has this dream, and it's just her running
was the
around
next
like
death?
weird. The next death was, so then she recruits the cousin who...
Wait, was it the cousin or the kind of the lawyer guy?
Cousin first,
Okay.
for sure. Because cousin drinks the brandy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What's interesting is like each one of, except for the wife, the following 3 deaths, is it 3? Yeah. The following 3 deaths, each one of those dudes, like instantly, the moment Karen is available, they swoop in and they're like, let's make a deal. And also I get to make out with you. Mm-hmm. Like they're so skeevy.
And they get their punishment.
That's right.
What I loved, so this guy's death was great because it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read it as, so he went for the whiskey he always steals. It's like, I knew you always drink from that, blah, blah, blah.
I knew you wouldn't even ask.
And we were like, oh, it's poisoned. But I think it was that it was not poisoned to kill him. But did you say,
that's right. It's so twisted.
Yes, that's what was so deliciously twisted.
This will send you into a deep, deep sleep. And then whoever... So there is sort of this side mystery of like who's actually executing a lot of the details of these things, right? Like who's delivering the tapes between each death to say like, I knew this would happen and now I know you're going to do this and therefore this is going to happen because I am all knowing and have planned this all out kind of thing. And so we have not mentioned, which I think we should wait, there is a servant character who you suspect. We'll get to him. But somebody is actually moving the bodies, so to speak. And so Douglas Whitehead, the cousin, drinks the brandy, chokes sort of, but then falls asleep, passes out, and the tape says, this will put you it won't kill you, but it'll put you in a deep sleep. And then we cut to him in like a bulldozer being dumped into
a plastic bag.
In a plastic bag, dumped into like a trash compactor.
Yeah, with like so much setup of like, that's the crush.
That is the crush.
It was a suit squish, a garbage truck crush. But it was just so twisted because it's like why they could have just put his dead body in the bag and crushed him, but no, they had to make sure he was still alive when he was crushed. Like
it's fucked up.
Arnold just God, how crazy.
So then the way they know that he's dead is that his leg, like from about halfway down the shin to the foot, is somehow left behind. Mm-hmm. It didn't make it into the compactor. It got cut off. And the cat, which I thought was weird, finds it and drags it back into the house.
Oh, right. Because of course.
Which is funny. And so everybody freaks out again. And they all kind of go on the search for the money.
Yep.
And this leads us, I guess we should, this leads us to the servant. They've been pointing at the servant the whole time that he's sketchy and probably in on it.
And is in makeup.
Let's wait on that. Unacceptable. So
that was the word of the day when watching this film.
Yeah. So he preemptively runs down to the basement and looks for the money and finds like a little dumbwaiter chute type thing and sticks his head in there thinking the money might be in there. And
Tim yelled, "Get your head cut off."
Yeah.
And it happened.
And it happened. So there's like a guillotine sort of hidden in there, and it chops his head off.
Yeah.
Which I was very pleased with.
Yeah.
So then we go, oh shit, it's not him, right? He's not in on this because he just got his head fucking cut off. And then it's Whitehead's like partner, lawyer guy.
Yeah.
Who I don't know what his character's name was.
Evan Leons, Farley Granger. Who is that? I'm just looking at the cast.
Oh,
list.
maybe.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe. Anyway.
The last guy.
So the last guy swoops in, and he's like, well, obviously I'm fucking awesome, and I can swoop in, and I'm not attached to anything, so I'm not gonna get killed.
Take the
I'm
woman,
just gonna
take the
grab
mistress,
you.
take the money.
I'm gonna swoop in while Karen's taking a shower and jump in the shower with her.
Yeah, he walks in with his towel on, and here's where we get we've had our squish, a crush, here's our squash.
Yeah. The walls of the shower close in, and both Karen and this guy get squashed to death.
Some good 13 Ghost crush action there.
Yeah, which, let's be honest, Arnold really, really had to know some shit.
Yeah.
To know that guy was going to show up and jump in. Maybe, actually, he probably wasn't planning on killing that guy.
It was just
for Karen.
Yeah, a happy accident. There were some times where it's
right.
like, well, how did you know that they were going to be in here too? Oh, merely a coincidence.
Right.
A happy accident.
So those are our so then there's one more death.
Once we've had, but that shower squash. I just need to.
Oh yeah.
I just need to emphasize how good it was. That's all. There's nothing more to say. It was.
I like how throughout the movie Karen sort of like she loses more and more clothes as we go along, and then she dies naked.
Yeah, someone said in the YouTube comments, like, they saw it as a kid 36 years ago, and their only memory of it was her in the shower. Okay.
I really thought we were going to see some nipple. You get real close, but it's behind frosted glass.
Well, they get squashed.
Yeah.
Squashed before you do. But it was so cool because, like, when it gets to the shower head, like, you think, oh, is it going to sort of, how much is it going to give as an indication of how hard the squash is? It just gets, like, crushed hard.
The shower
like,
head
just like it's
falls
nothing.
apart,
Like,
yeah.
So it's hard pressure. It's it sets up there, cannot slow down.
What a way to go.
Yeah.
That poor guy, he's ready to just get it in there.
Yeah.
And he's all fired up because Karen's naked. He's in the shower with her.
Mm-hmm.
You got to love some shower sex, right?
Poor everyone in this movie.
Man. His boner got fucking squashed is what happened.
That could have been... No, I was going to make a joke. Another day.
All right, so then we kind of get our final reveal of who's been orchestrating all of this, and it's the sister of, shockingly, the unassuming sister.
We did call out, and I thought it was done pretty well as far as, even though we called it, the reason we called it was what was actually a pretty good hide, whereas it went right from, like, almost instantaneously, the eye looking through the portrait to the sister walking out, and then she goes back in, and it happens again. So it's the kind of, but it happened so fast that it was intentionally played like, oh, they're totally separate.
Right.
But it's fun how they did that. But I actually loved that the sister was the one who is it, because it was so much fun. I love the sort of character reversal or reveal, I don't know you'd call it, for this kind of character where it seemed like she's the total innocent. Oh, I'm off to the card game, the weekly card game.
Bumbling and sort of,
I don't know anything. Oh, I'm just happy to be here. Don't mind me. Anything I can get you, sir. Very, ant-like, and it's kind of funny. Always holding the cat. So then to have her be the twist is like, oh, finally I can go to Rome and live a life. To like,
she spent her whole life being there for Arnold, and now she can finally be free.
Yeah.
But
she gets what she wants in the end, her precious money.
That's right. So she has Arnold cremated, which was not what Arnold wanted.
Mm-mm.
She disposes of the groundskeeper who's been helping her by having him dig a grave for Arnold's casket. And then showing up with Arnold's ashes, and the guy's like, "What the fuck, man? Like, where's the coffin?" She's like, "Arnold's in, like, I had him cremated." And she's like, "Well, why'd you have me dig this big hole? I'm old, and that took me a long time." And she's like, "'Cause you're going in it!" And she hits him with the shovel and kills him and puts him in there.
Movie inspired the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Right. So then she goes to put Arnold's urn in the tomb, the family tomb, or crypt, or whatever you call
mausoleum.
it. Mausoleum, there you go. And in doing so, she realizes that that's probably where the money is. And she crawls into Arnold's tomb. And lo and behold, she finds a secret passage and button and whatever. And it opens up. And there's this other little room with all of his money, all this cash that we've been wondering where it would be the whole time. And she's all giddy and, like you said, now I can go live my life. And the door closes behind her and Arnold's voice comes over the PA.
And that's the kind of scene that, like, imagining where it's like what did work, I could see if you were a kid watching this, like the setting and some of those moments could be pretty engrossing and affecting. Like, it's kind of classic, you knew it was coming, but the candle going out and sort of that Twilight Zone-esque ending of like trapped with your money now. It's all you've wanted, but you can't
I mean,
spend
there
it.
is sort of a morality aspect to this whole movie of like, don't be a dick, don't be an asshole, don't be a creep, don't be greedy.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Good job.
We've alluded to it, but I did have fun with the mystery aspect. Like, even though we were kind of predicting and calling things, we still didn't know what it was eventually going to be for sure and what was going on. Yeah. It was kind of like felt par for the course once we did, but but it was fun. Yeah. The mystery, watching it play out. Yeah. That's enough of that. Do you think?
I agree.
Let's talk about what
now
did not work.
Now you don't have to watch this movie because we just described the entire thing.
Great. And we'll tell you what we can about what did not work.
Okay.
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
Let's just get through it, because here's the deal. Do not put people in blackface or brownface or whatever you want to call it, because the servant is supposed to be sort of what would you say that is, like a Hindi? Yeah. He's got a turban. He is very clearly a white guy in makeup,
which
with
actually
a horribly shitty
He's actually
goatee.
We just thought it was supposed to be like some weird reveal, like, oh, it was actually another character. That's why they put an actor in brownface. But it's actually an actor who
we know.
I forget his name, but he's someone.
His name's Jamie Farr. He's very famous.
Yeah,
he's Klinger from MASH.
Okay,
which is like, he's a famous dude.
And it was an earlier role of his, I guess. But it's just kind of funny that it was like, oh, let's get this good actor, and then so it was a straight up.
He doesn't say anything in it.
A non-story essential.
Right. It's like, why is he even there? Just so Roddy McDowall can call him a dirty Hindu? Like 5 times? It's so unacceptable.
What was it that he said? It was...
Sneaky, dirty Hindi or something like that. It was horrible. Yeah. And he says it every time they're like in the same room together. Like he's like, Hindi. It's like, Jesus Christ.
With his hook for the hand.
Yeah. So he's got everything going on. He's got a hook for a hand. He's got an evil goatee. He's got an evil eye patch. He's got an evil face scar. I mean, they really were trying to misdirect. With that.
Yeah.
So, but still, I'm sorry, it's unacceptable to put people in. I mean, I get it. It's the 70s and they're stupid about that kind of shit.
Right, like
but
the Peter Sellers movie, The Party, I thought of.
Right, yeah. I mean, it happened. We've moved on, hopefully. Don't be a stupid racist idiot when you're making movies.
Right. Well, there was, in a lot of ways, this I want to get to in the things of note, this film was a holdover of a lot of stuff from earlier, like 1930s films. Yeah. In a certain way.
You're right.
And this was a more unfortunate aspect of being held over.
It's like every time he was on screen, I was like, who the fuck thought this was okay?
Director.
God damn it.
Actually, it was more like, what was this director thinking at all? Because, so to switch gears, Tim,
I'm done. Like I don't need to rant.
No,
I could rant about it, but I won't rant about it.
We had to good to get it.
Gotta get it
up
out.
top. So I was trying to. I don't actually have a lot as far as like written down, like parts that didn't work for me. This was an interesting case.
Yeah.
Where it was like everything in it I actually liked. Cause here, so I wrote like, okay, so what did not work for me? I'm trying to figure it out. I just wrote, it was hardly engaging or entertaining. You know?
Yeah.
So, but then I'm like, well, okay, it wasn't the performances. It wasn't the casting. It wasn't the plotting or the story. It wasn't the setting. It wasn't the humor. It wasn't the deaths. It wasn't the twists. It wasn't the mystery. So what didn't work for me? And then it was only when we were sitting down to do this and I was playing it off YouTube and the key song came on again. Oh, God. And Tim, if you could hear him go, oh God, that's what Tim said. He said, I played the music and Tim went, ugh, oh God. And that was my jumping off point for figuring out what was wrong, where I just then heard you saying now, like my inner Tim going, what the fuck are you doing? Like just to the director.
That's the best impression of me ever. I probably say that 1,000 times a day.
Well, yeah. Like, I could see you saying that to the director. So what I landed on, it was the direction.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have all these elements that were working for me when I just put it down in a list form, yet you need a coalescing. This is a really good example, I think, of what a director's role is.
Yeah.
You know, of showing when something works and doesn't. It's like, there was that one scene, remember, where you're like, well, did the gaffer direct this?
Yeah. Because it's just like leering at the bartender, her boobs the whole time.
Well, it was just kind of
like,
like,
it's just like it has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, it was like,
it's
as
like
if
we're
you
in
had
a bar
these
and...
three different elements that had to be tied together to a scene with character motivations that made baseline sense, and it was just not.
It is a side story that means nothing, does nothing, and like speaks to nothing. It's that the constable's dad likes the big-titted bartender.
Yeah,
that's it. And then later the constable's sad because his dad ran away with her. What does that have to do with anything? It's so like, what?
Right.
Why even have it in there? Is that like some inside joke? Like,
well, it's like,
what is going on?
You could find the thing that, I don't know, there could be a way to tie it to the movie.
Maybe.
But that just wasn't, that's what wasn't there. It was sort of like you have these bullet points of what's supposed to happen, and it was the in-between that is where the direction comes in, that sort of like figures out what it is, how you present it. And it was like, that wasn't done on any case. So this was just a weird, it's kind of like, we have, okay, so all these things that I like individually, but yet I just don't like being here. It's like that uncertainty or unsureness of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt gross being here in this movie.
It's just, It's like, you know what it feels like a little bit? It's like, we don't have enough script for this to be like really where, like, lengthwise what it should be. So like, hey, does anybody want to jump in on this? You know what I mean? Call your buddies, call John MacGyver, just have him sit at the bar. He doesn't have to do shit.
Yeah.
And he could just be there. Like, we'll put him in a few scenes. It doesn't have to be connected to anything. But, you know, I know he's been struggling a little bit. He's got a kind of a gambling problem. Maybe like he needs an extra buck. So like, just cast him because you're friends with him, and you know, like, he's your cousin's uncle.
Yes.
Like, it feels like that, where they put stuff in this movie that had nothing to do with making the movie better. It had to do with nepotism or something.
Yes.
I'm making a big leap there.
I think it's less nepotism. Okay, here's my grand theory.
Hey, we're making a thing. Anybody want to just come for a day and like hang out? That's what it felt like to me. That bar shit, at least.
That is connected to, okay, here's, as I just said, my grand theory. And this is when put it in the context of this is the history of studio level presumption. Okay?
Okay.
So if to start in the now we have a sort of calculated presumption. Yeah. Of okay, we're gonna put these actors in it. We got this director who's made another $100 million movie before that, you know, as bad as it was, made money. It's you know what I'm saying. I don't have to give specific examples. We know what I'm talking about. Calculated filmmaking in today's age. So if you look at more where that came from, and like if Arnold is its early roots of that, there's a presumption that just because it's weird because this isn't wrong. Like there is an inherent power to the medium of film, like used well by, you know, like Terrence Malick, Richard Linklater, like just, you know, an image. They believe in that magic, and because of that can get it across just in sort of something that's maybe more simple, or that there is a joy in just actors being on screen.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like there's a presumption that there has to be that belief in it behind it, which it isn't there. You know, so there's a presumption as far as, that's what I keep saying, as far as just like, okay, we put these likable actors up there. We have all these things that I listed that work. So that means it's going to work.
Right.
That means the people are going to love it. It's going to be a hit.
They were wrong.
Yes.
But you're right. It happens all the time. Definitely.
So yeah, there's different.
I mean, it's sort of that dumb idea of like, oh well, if you put Tom Cruise in it, it'll be a hit, and it's like that's not what makes a movie a hit,
right?
Like you're missing it. It's like when Deadpool came out, and suddenly all these studio execs are like, oh shit, like we didn't know that an R-rated superhero movie could make money. Let's make all of our superhero movies R-rated. It's like it wasn't good because it was R-rated. That's completely to the like side point. It just happens to be R-rated. It's good because it's a good fucking script and it was executed well. Like stop conflating these two things and thinking that this minor little aspect is what made it good.
That's the thing. It's the history of not just presumption, but of drawing too short of a line between two things.
Yeah, isn't this sort of like it's like thinking there's causality, like correlation and causality thing. Do you know what that is? Yeah. It's like no, just because Nick Cage movies were, here's the graph of Nick Cage movies, and then you can look at Drownings and the graphs match. It's like those are not causal, right? Like
maybe they are.
They're
Tim.
not. Maybe
the Drownings went up as more shitty Nick Cage movies.
Yeah. Well, that's what the graph says.
Not unrelated. You're gonna see me at my place with like all these like Polaroids up of Drownings, and
you're gonna get the red yarn out.
Yeah.
All right. I get what you're saying. Yeah. So I have one. Oh no, wait.
Well, okay. I guess to summarize that though,
okay,
it's there's got to be a love of film in there, or you got to love what you're doing, and then figure out a way to. That's what directing is. It's finding how do I make it so everything I love about this is as apparent as possible,
right? And not just do it to get it done.
And okay, just to pick it apart a little more, because it's like to come at from different angles. Sorry.
Okay.
But it's like I thought of the original Pink Panther.
Yes.
Where it's like all the good memories I have of watching Pink Panther movies were actually the sequels, where it was more focused on Clouseau, more silly. And then the first one, I remember like buying it on DVD and like watching it. And I'm like, this is like long and like. I like the music, but it's repetitive, and I just like, who's this guy? Where's Clouseau? And like, even the big like what I think of as a Pink Panther movie ending was this kind of like dated and lame and felt presumptuous again.
Yes.
So I just saw a comparison as sort of a close era kind of like, oh, we're just gonna do this and it's all gonna be great. And
well, it's an interesting question. I wonder what the modern equivalency is.
Well, I mean,
Transformers?
I'm sorry I know you're a fan, but I really think it's Marvel films.
Get out of here.
I mean...
Get the fuck out of here. Get out! Get out of my closet!
We'll talk about... Okay, sorry, that's a little... It's not totally accurate. that the Marvel films, I think more...
I would say the DC films are the example of this. The DC films... are trying to play catch up with the things that are working in the Marvel films, and they're picking the wrong thing, like, and they're fucking it up. And so they're being presumptuous about what people want to see, or what they think people want to see, and they're just missing horribly. Green Lantern, the first that like, well, it's unwatchable, right? And then you think, okay, well, they've got a good director. Zack Snyder's coming in. He's done a couple cool things. He did Watchmen, and he did Dawn of the Dead, and Sucker Punch, and like, he's got style, and maybe he can bring something to this franchise. And he does a kind of left turn of the most iconic superhero ever. Right? Like everybody knows Superman, so it's a really hard thing to get right. It's okay. Sorry, it's just there is a calculation though on Marvel films from the producer's side. That's like, it's like they're doing TV shows. They all have to adhere. Like I was actually excited to go see Guardians of the Galaxy because James Gunn was doing it. I'm like, okay, here's actually, they may have canned Edgar Wright, who's an interesting, good filmmaker. I like. From doing Ant-Man, which makes sense now, in this, you see what I'm getting at with I get that. And then it was just like, this is the same. It doesn't, there's never anything interesting for me in the direction of any of those films. I know what you mean. Yeah. And I'm not wholly opposed to what you're saying. But it's like, I get it, because it's like... But the much worse version of that to me is the DC stuff. Right. So it's like, if I was a fan of Marvel things, I could see myself liking it. I'm just not. I think I just outed myself as a Marvel fanboy. You did. Well, I outed myself kind of as a deadhead 2 episodes ago, so... That's all right. Yeah, no, movies. I get you. I think, the things like Transformers and the DC movies, I think, are the more extreme example of that. But I get where you're coming from. You're talking about a slightly different thing. The DC movies are calculated in a way that's just like, okay, what were you even thinking? Right. But the Marvel movies are calculated to just work for a specific audience. Yeah. And for me, that's almost more... It's more conniving in a way, I feel like. It's this Disney, like, well, how do we still make money for sure? Sure. Yeah, when I think any approach of a movie should be like, okay, but it's got to be just, there's that good David Bowie quote on like a creativity in the role of an artist or a piece of art. And it's like, it's got to be just scary enough when setting out to do it. Like you're setting out to doing something that's a little bit uncertain, but you feel is going to be... there's an intuition there, and that's just where the producing stamp comes on. Nope, sorry, James. Nope, sorry, you're right. We're just not going to let you do it. You're right. You do see the producer stepping in and going, no, that's not what we're doing. And then it's I'd say, so then what are we doing? It's like, right. Well, we're and they put it in some like marketing whatever way. I'm like, no, well, you're just playing it safe, and F that, because we aren't. We have a bigger responsibility. We're selling figures. Yeah. But, what would be awesome? Arnold figures. Yes. An Arnold play set with each of their... You have like the house and each of their different deaths. You have like a weird crank thing that like... yeah. That crushes the shower. Yes. And like a red ribbon pops out. Yeah. Okay, maybe we didn't exactly draw the lines between... Marvel DC films and Arnold, but they're there. Yeah. What's behind people's filmmakers' motivation? And I guess to tie it all together is I think you have to the director has to have a love not only a love of the content, but an awareness and respect for the medium and its power. Yeah. And that sounds pretentious. Yeah. Well, so what? But I'm a high-low person. I'm either, super pretentious or the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And well, that's true. Like, don't middle. Yeah. Don't fucking middle. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're gonna go, swing. Like, swing real hard. Yeah. And you might fucking suck at it. But that's okay too. That's where we get kind of like our, filmmaker anxiety of like, I just like... with all this money and resources being put into it. Yeah. Like you have a duty. Yeah. But whatever, you're happy with Ant-Man 2, so. Sorry. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let's do some things of note. Yes.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
I'm going to blow your fucking mind right now. You ready?
Yes.
The writer, one of two writers, Jameson Brewer. Guess what he wrote?
What did Jameson Brewer write, Tim?
He wrote... Where is it? Shit.
What?
Hang on.
Tell me.
I lost it.
What
I
is
lost
it?
Wait. I got to get it right.
What?
Okay. He wrote 16 episodes of Scooby-Doo.
You're right.
Ah!
Mind blown.
No wonder. Holy shit. Yeah. So that makes sense.
That's great though. Like literally.
So we picked up on it. Oh man, he wrote a bunch of shit, but it just occurred to me. I was like, the fucking picture, the eye behind the picture thing is so classic Scooby-Doo. What if this dude wrote Scooby-Doo?
That we should do a cut of this movie where we put in that classic Scooby-Doo cue. You know the whoop, whoop.
Oh my god. I love that shit.
Yeah.
I loved Scooby-Doo when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Fucking loved it.
I never saw the live actions, but
I didn't either, because I was like, no,
yeah,
I can't.
The cartoons
you can't.
are great.
So that was a big thing of note for me. There's also Stella Stevens, the lead Karen. I was like she looks really familiar. She was in Poseidon Adventure, which I love.
I just looked at a glance at her Wikipedia, and it was just huge as far as TV roles.
She's done it.
So if you've seen any
things.
shows from the 70s, you have seen her.
Yeah, and just like these, I mean, that article you read said B-list actors. I guess that's kind of true, but like a lot of these dudes are recognizable, and they've been in.
Hey, Planet of the Apes.
Around,
was that a B movie?
Yeah,
Elevated by its ending.
So I don't know. Beyond that, I don't have much.
I don't know. It was interesting. This was, I guess I put it in things of note because it was noteworthy for me that I couldn't put it in what worked or what didn't work. Mm-hmm. But there was it was like a joke that didn't land, but I still liked something about it. It was still maybe my humor, but it was when they said, it was probably just because it was so off the cuff and like didn't belong there. But I like that they pointed out, were like, did they build the graveyard around the fog, or did the fog arrive once they built the graveyard?
That is a dumb joke, but it is funny.
Yeah, it just seemed both smarter and dumber than the movie. I don't know. What I found most interesting, noteworthy about this film was sort of looking at its place in film history of the evolution of a horror aesthetic, where this felt like you kind of have, what is it? There's like the one Frankenstein movie that came out in 1970, but like used parts of like used props and stuff from the original.
Oh, really? I don't even know about this.
And films like that where it's like as if the Universal horror films, that we talked about in The Black Cat, there's a setting to them that's general, and it all works when it's like 30s, 40s, and then they made it maybe more sci-fi tinged with the 50s. But then it's like you have this is like the tail end of sort of squeezing that for its last drop horror when it's though now in color and has a 70s settings, and we've had films like Rosemary's Baby come out. This is not gonna do it anymore. Yeah.
Well, just think about this. This is 1973, right?
Yeah, but it's a comedy, so it's like
yes.
But yet it was still doing it. I don't know. It was weird.
The next year, John Carpenter's first movie came out, which is Dark Star, which has, I think, is a bridge to, obviously Carpenter becomes sort of the father of modern horror, him and kind of Wes Craven, right? That Dark Star tonally is a bridge to that stuff from this, because it has elements of this. It's got kind of corniness and low. It's definitely low budget, right?
Yeah.
But very quickly, 4 years later, he does Halloween. Mm-hmm. Right. So clearly there's a cultural shift.
Yeah. Look at this.
The
movie.
60s are over.
Right. This was like the sort of awkward, with her hippie dresses and stuff that, I liked them. But But it was this weird holding on to the 60s
Yeah.
when, hey,
Yeah,
no.
because like Benny Hill and Laugh-In and all that shit, those are 60s shows. Like,
Yeah.
they're not 70s.
Well, it's also sort of like they say, the horror moves in cycles thing, where, I mean, to repeat it, it's original and successful and effective as horror, then it's sequelized, then and then spoofed,
right.
referenced, and then self-referential,
Right,
again,
right,
like
yeah.
this, Scream coming in or
Yep.
whatever. So this felt like it was maybe the in a different director's hands could have worked in a self-referential way.
Sure.
Because it's like it's comedic. It's using but it's actually creepy too. And I don't know, it could have been more effective in sort of its incorporating all these elements from films 30 years younger than it.
You know what the modern version of this movie is, in a way? Is, oh, fuck, now I'm not going to think of what it's called. And I love this movie. It's damn it.
Daphne.
No. Damn. You're Next. Okay. So the modern equivalent to this, in a way, I think, which in and of itself is kind of an homage film too, but it's You're Next, which is, it's sort of, again, it's in a modern way, it's taking
You're Next.
Yeah, You're Next. It's 2011. In a
I
weird
liked
way,
it.
You're Next is, you could put You're Next between Arnold and Halloween.
But it can't.
Do you know what I
mean?
mean? What I mean is, in terms of it takes elements of both of those movies, I think. And I think, the directors, yeah, that's right, Adam Wingard.
Right.
He's done a few things. I think some stuff works, some stuff I haven't loved.
I thought it was Weingard, but
oh, maybe it is.
I don't know.
But either way, like, I think he's a horror fan.
Yeah.
For sure. And he's trying to do a couple things. At times he's paying homage to stuff. And at times he's just I think he's just a student of horror history.
I thought where you were going with this, I don't get what you mean as far as it's between Arnold and Halloween. Because for me, I thought you were on point as in it's an example of the equivalent of what Arnold could have successfully been doing as far as being informed by the films before it.
Yes, that is what I mean.
Your Next has taken both the slasher genre and a handful of home invasion films.
Right.
And made it self-aware in such a way where it can be played for both scares and comedy effectively.
But there's also the mystery aspect to it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's sort of taking some of the best things of that you could have done in Arnold, and also the tonality of Halloween. That's what I mean by between. It's got he's sort of grabbed the best aspects of horror films, or certain horror films, I think, and made this thing that stands alone as
I just
it is.
wouldn't want to be.
I think it's cool.
I think you could just pick a multitude of other films other than Arnold.
I could,
use
but
as-
I'm trying to fucking fit a couch through a small door here. Anyway, it's a good movie. Go watch that.
All right, well, you're going to wrap this up and talk
let's do it.
about
let's
recommendations.
Let's get through it. Oof, we talked a lot about Arnold.
Yeah,
How is
enough
that
about
possible?
Arnold. Peter, I hope you enjoyed this.
Peter. Fuck you, Peter.
He's going to be on our show.
You fucked us, Peter! You fucked us!
We'll be back. Give us another one, Peter.
All right, let's do some recommendations.
Well, since we brought his name up, John Carpenter, I was pretty stoked. If you saw on our Instagram story recently, I watched In the Mouth of Madness for the first time and got pretty excited. I was already excited to watch it because it was like, oh, I know it has Sam Neill and it's a Lovecraft influence, blah, blah, blah. And I felt bad. I'd forgotten it was John Carpenter. And when I turned it on, I saw it was John Carpenter and got that much more excited for it. And I really, really, it's got kind of like, in other John Carpenter films or films of the 80s where it's like, okay, this is all pretty dated, but I so easily am able to just go, yeah, but whatever, because this is all great.
Yeah.
My friend who's a listener, Jesse, recommended it to me when we were talking about ghost stories, actually, and other films I was talking about. films of, the level of uncertainty and going insane. And it was just like a movie that's goal was entirely that. It was a film that was an exercise in that fully.
Nice.
And functionally. And if you're looking to see your full tier, your lower tier, middle tier, whatever, John Carpenter films, and if you happen to miss it, I can recommend Dead in the Mouth of Madness.
Cool. I mean, I think I should recommend Dead You're Next. If you haven't seen that shit, dude, it is solid as fuck. It's got awesome kills, and not even just kills, but like Home Alone style fucking like kicking the shit out of the bad guy moments.
Yeah.
It's so good.
The adult Home Alone.
Yeah.
Horror Home Alone.
Yeah. So get into that. It's a fucking good one.
Okay. Well, my turn to pull from the hat.
Here it is. Pick a good one.
All right. It wasn't a recommendation this time. Swamp Thing, directed by Wes Craven.
Oh, shit.
From 1982.
I have not seen this movie.
It's like, this is one that I think I maybe saw as a kid, but I'm like, who knows?
I think I probably saw part of it on like USA Lit Up All Night or something like that.
Yeah, similar
You know what I
though,
mean?
just to In the Mouth of Madness, I'm like, okay, I just got to see the Wes Craven movies I haven't seen.
Fuck yeah.
Let's figure out what this is.
Cool, dude.
Swamp Thing.
They are, I believe they're trying to do a remake of it, like, and fit it into the DC universe.
Why am I
as
not
well.
surprised
Right?
at all?
Because it's like the DC Dark or something like that. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember what it's called.
I do.
but there's
Okay,
something
I
like
have
that.
seen it. I'm remembering.
It's got
things
like
about
Heather
it.
Locklear in it, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking corny if I understand it right.
Let's find out how corny
Oh, man.
next week.
When are we going to watch a scary movie?
We did, Ghost Stories, I thought was good.
Yes, it's amazing, but I didn't think it was scary. I want to be scared, Ryan.
I thought that had good
Scare
Ghost
me.
Stories had fun, scary moments and was genuinely unnerving in its twist and actual
Yes.
construct. Like,
Yes,
So I don't know. I thought that was really good.
I agree.
And I'm just looking at our list. I mean,
I want some nightmares.
yeah.
Give me nightmares.
Wasn't Lake Bottom was like maybe it could have been. I felt that was
Almost,
a good
not
stab attempt at finding something. But really, Tim, nothing's ever going to be better than The Babysitter. So we should just reconcile ourselves.
hang up the hat.
with that.
All right, cool.
All right, you can find us if you haven't already at dismemberinghorror.com.
Yep, and on Instagram, Dismembering Horror, and iTunes, and Twitter is DisHorrorPod. And I'm Tim Aslin.
My name is Ryan McDuffie.
Yeah, hit us up.
And hope to see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I love thee, just you wait and see. Arnold, and let me count the ways through the nights and days. Arnold, you and me, darling Arnold. Oh, sweet Arnold, through the night, through the days. Let me count those wonderful ways. Life is love, love is no sin. Let's not waste our time, let's begin. How do I love thee? Just you wait and see. Arnold, until our final breath, even better after death. Arnold, darling Arnold, tender Arnold. Ooh, happy bride and groom, exotic honeymoon. Arnold, they said it couldn't be, but just you wait and see. Arnold, you and me through eternity. Oh, sweet Arnold. Oh, Arnold. Arnold.